and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our category 1 riders, in green our category 2, in blue category 3 and category 4 in red.
The rider going away is Christophe Lamno, because take a look at this. 16-second gap he's got at the moment, and the field are not chasing.
Okay, so leads through past the roller coasters, goes flying past our cameras here, sprints his way out that corner. Trojanowski chasing Betty Winfield. Brody's up there. It's panic stations behind. Nobody wants to let this gap go.
This is the chase group, because take a look at that. There's a group with Plantero, Kaminsky, Knudsen, Van Elst, Vujasin and Osborne. There's a gap of 2 seconds and they need to close it down. Osborne and Jones still out front in category 1. They've extended that lead now. On the right hand side of your screen, it's the lead in category 2. At 20 seconds, X100 has also extended the lead in that race as well. Ollie Jones and Jason Osborne working their way through some of the category 2 race field. Now, they did indeed start 5 minutes behind them, but they are now 1 kilometre behind the front of the category 2 race field. Amma McMurtry, they are further up the road. Ridley catching what is the chase group in category 4. Now, how is this going to play out? Are we going to see some of these category 4 riders tack onto the back of the category 3 pack and get pulled? Or are they just going to come to the back of the group and drop? Jason Osborne has just lit the afterburners at the moment. He's been motoring with Ollie Jones all ride since they left the group. And, well, he's just turned it around, taken a look at Jones and went, see at the top. Buama is going to see that UCI banner. Is he going to make it to the line? I think he is. Buama caught the leader in the category 4.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bonjour, ravi de vous retrouver sur MyWhoosh pour ce Sunday Race Club catégorie. Au départ, la catégorie 4 en rouge, les bleus de la catégorie 3, la catégorie 2 en vert et bien sûr la catégorie 1 en jaune avec les rouges qui vont ouvrir le bal. Et voilà un petit nouveau, ben voilà, il m'avait échappé, Christophe Lamno, qui profite directement de ce premier kilomètre pour se mettre, et là pas d'attaque hein, dans ces premières minutes. Situation un peu différente que dans la catégorie 4. Mister Xan qui emmène le peloton, en tout cas il est bien placé hein, dans ses premières positions. Qu'est-ce qu'il va nous réserver aujourd'hui, Mister Xan? Alors, Vidarmail qui a attaqué dans la catégorie 1. Le Norvégien qui essaye de prendre un petit peu d'avance, mais très légère. Mister Xan, où est-ce qu'il en est? Bien, il creuse gentiment l'écart. 17 secondes d'avance par rapport à ce peloton. On est au kilomètre 20. Et Krasnic, attention, James Krasnic, le vainqueur de la semaine dernière en catégorie 2, qui est tout seul en tête. Et qui est attaqué sur le plat apparemment. Quoique. Oh, ça va être chaud car l'arrivée est là. Hein. L'arrivée est là et Bohamer va gagner. Bohamer va aller chercher la victoire. C'est pas encore fait. Hein. Il y a encore quelques mètres. Maintenant, les 200 derniers mètres. Bohamer à du 7 watts par kilo. C'est bon, ça passe.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مشاهدينا الكرام، متابعينا في كل مكان، أهلا وسهلا بكم مع الانطلاقات الأربعة والفئات الأربعة. الفئة باللون الأحمر، الفئة الرابعة والفئة الثالثة بالأزرق، والفئة الثانية باللون الأخضر، والأولى باللون الأصفر. أبو عامر واتمنى له ان شاء الله التوفيق. الشيء الجميل في ابو عامر انه مستمر الان في المشاركه بشكل اسبوعي وايضا بشكل يومي، يدخل في هذا التطبيق، تطبيق مايوش. اتاك من نيكولاس سبرات الدراج الاسترالي يعمل عمليه هجوم الان في وسط الكوكبه. المحاوله هنا لهذا الدراج الاسترالي محمد القيس، محاوله جيده لمحمد. برافو يا محمد. هذا محمد القيس يتقدم الآن من مملكة البحرين من فريق الوثبة. بداية الصعوبة الآن هنا، بداية الصعوبة الحقيقية، لأن نسبة الانحدار بدأت تزيد إلى 5%. لاحظ الآن هذا سعد خير الدين المغربي يظهر، كامنسكي يظهر ويقدم أداء ممتاز. مع أيضا نشوف أندريسن وأيضا كامنسكي البولندي. لا خوف على هذا البطل، عنده القدرة للبقاء والتحمل، ملك التحمل مستر إكساندر، ملك الصمود. وعامر المركز الأول، الدخول، النهاية 100 متر أخيرة. هذه النهاية الآن، الفئة الرابعة. وعامر رصاصة الإماراتية تخترق خط الوصول. وعامر
So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier race number 3. I hope you were watching carefully all the way through those rewinds, and just important listening, because my goodness, I love our commentators in French, Sir James and Abdul and Robert in Arabic. My name's Matt Payne. I'm here in the studio with Emma Martin. Emma, this is our last qualifier before the Sunday Race Club finals next Sunday.
Yes.
I know you've been looking forward to coming back into Belgium for the race route today. Why is that?
I love the Belgium course. It's short, it's sharp, it's punchy. There's lots of climbs. It gives really close racing, and we see people come to the fore that we don't see on those big long climbs. So the men's Sunday Race Club today in Belgium, 45 kilometres of racing, 492 metres of climbing. You come out of the start pen, it's a flat 6k through the Ghent City Sprint, and then we hit the Kortekeer. It's the longest climb of the day at 3.9 kilometres. We drop down through the Tissenhoven Morven Sprint onto the Valkenburg climb, down and through. We transition up the Eichenberg Hill, which is not a segment on this route, but it is indeed a leg snapper as they drop down into the Eichenberg climb. They then transition through to the Quermont, the Pattenberg, and then there's a nasty kicker to the finish at that 45 kilometre mark. Well, the Sunday Race Club, the men ever present, but we've got a big race field today as normal, and always great to see those riders out, and you can see them down in the start pens at the moment. Our category 4 riders are going to be the first riders away, followed by category 3. Then there's a 10-minute gap to category 2. Category 1, well, Ruben Dont's already down in the start line, hopefully warming up down there, because over 20 minutes before category 1 leave the pen today.
Nothing like being in a race start nice and early.
Get your position on the line.
That's the one. Although today, of course, with that fast start going out from the pens, we're going to see how this ride progresses. Now, in category 4, 22 nations, we have on our start list some really strong teams. BMC Racing up against the Level Avengers, against Level Up and the Mighty Ducks. The Mighty Ducks with 5 riders: Agadella, Somervilla, Kutap, Atruba and Newman. We've got the Spinergy team. They've got 4 riders, as have Upcycle, Spinergy's Dadson, Bachansky, Mokhtari and Yokobonis. Up against Upcycle's Zanaska, Drummond, Lloyd and Mayard. But the Anzacs, another of our teams with 5, matching the Mighty Ducks. McMurtry, Winfield, Cridland, Horsley and Dadson of the Anzacs are going to be taking those riders on. Just under half of the race field represented in their teams. Will they be the riders taking it away? Well, Sunday Race Club is go on qualifier race number 3, the final qualifier before we hit those monthly finals. This is an interesting race route for qualifier race number 3, because the start is absolutely pancake flat until we hit the Kortekeer. There is literally barely a ripple in the tarmac. There's barely a speed bump on the way through. This start has one of 2 options. It's either flat out or nothing.
Well, at the moment, there's a real push on the front. And I tell you, when they hit the Kortekeer, it's not flat. 17% that first kicker. But Scott Francis, at the moment, wants to make this a race from the gun. Absolutely flying.
What's he doing? He's doing a...
Francis.
No, he's doing an Allport. We are slowly getting this out and around the world. We're not going to labour the point for much longer. Sorry, Luke. But to do an all-point score off the front, we are working to get it in the Oxford English Dictionary. We've already got it into UK coaching parlance already.
Well, we do indeed. I do indeed know a Yorkshire coach who has been using it with her riders this week.
There you go. So the MyWhoosh vernacular is spreading around the globe. Let's see what other phrases get adopted because of the actions of our riders out on circuit at the moment. Going for a ride off down the road, trying to break away from the bunch in the early stages of a race is to do an all-port or to all-port or porting. Take your pick. However, what's really interesting, it's a suicide move at the moment because surely there is no way to stay clear of a bunch of this size with the quality of riders in our race field.
Well, 51 riders on the start sheets in category 4 today, and you can see the spread already. A big pack rolling, and the one thing about this very, very flat start is that the pack get up to pace very quickly, just shy of 38 kilometres an hour, and Xavier Maillard, part and parcel of that bunch in the mix here, nice and tight in the group, 16th position at the moment, nicely in the draft. Scott Francis is the rider off the front at the moment, and this is a really great course. You know, last time we were in Belgium, Qualifier 2 in September, the rider who took the win in category 4, Alex West, has now progressed to category 3. So we're going to see a new rider on the top spot at the moment, as Boo Ammer is the rider off the back at the moment, really pushing on and trying to drive towards the back of the group, and 16 seconds off at the moment. So pushing on at the front or back of the group, trying to close down the gap, but the pack is rolling, and it's Scott Francis on the front here. He's sat up now, waiting for the pack to come in. The riders behind, Amma took the win last week. We then saw riders such as Bogran, Cridland, Dromard, Zanaska, Dadson, Newman, Brito, Francis, Gomez, Nogueira, Rusinek. I tell you what, Jacques Rusinek, this is a good course for him. Is he in the mix today? Well, we'll have a little look and have a find out. But Francis at the moment continuing to drill this on the front. I'm not sure what Scott Francis's plans are today, but it seems to be turn the switch on, turn the switch off, turn the switch on. He's going through the Ghent City Sprint, and that's why the switch is on at the moment.
He switched on, he's thrown the breaker. It's a full power ahead. He's going for the full give it beans all the way in and through. And do you know what? He's right off afterwards. No surprises there. He should surely have the fastest time. You would think so, but not necessarily, because if you've got a quick kick from the back to the front of the bunch, you can use the draft. The draft is absolutely key to get a super fast time. At the moment, Francis has that fastest time, 23 seconds through there. So that kick giving him the green jersey. Now remember, the green skin suits, the polka dot skin suits for the points awards, for the points competition in each of those competitions don't count to the overall. Francis now, he needs to get his finger out, jump in with this bunch as it moves through in category 4. Our category 3 riders waiting on that start line and getting ready to go. We have the Autoroa Alliance, Ethan Squarlari up against Level Racing's Allport and Peterson. Yes, that man's in there. We have got the Level Up Racing. It's Ola Warren. Take that back again. It's Carsten Mayer, Nickel Cancer. I swore to myself before we start the show I wouldn't do any more take that references, but I went there. Let's try not to do that again, Matt. We have got a number of individual riders starting to represent their clubs as well. 19 nations on the start line. Will they be able to make it count? Will we see a rider from Belgium take victory on the Belgian course here today? Time to go racing in qualifier race number 3. It's category 3 underway, heading out from the pen.
Well, look at the size of that race field. 52 riders on the start sheets today in category 3. And it's a who's who of category 3 from Allport, Yeast, Squilari, Besady, Mayer, Spratt, Kansara, West, Neville, Ross, Kirk Kiernowski, Tidholm, who took 3rd place last week. Oyer is here. Wakefield, Oviedo, Roy, Hagland, Kochikov, Manuan, Karlstrom, Kirchner, and I could just keep going. Van Velgem is here. There's some serious strength and depth to this race field, and the pack up and rolling really, really quickly. One or two riders just off the back of the group, either wanting a steadier start today or not so interested in being in the leading five, wanting the qualification for the final.
Well, yes. And that is the thing, isn't it? So to qualify for the finals, riders have to have 2 verified rides put in. So that means that they've got to go through the verification process. Emma, just run us through a really brief version of the verification process, would you?
The verification process to join the Sunday Race Club or to get into the final?
Bit of both. I love having a choice. So tell us what Andrew Neville Ross has had to do to race.
Well, Andrew Neville Ross had to get a bike to start with, and then, honestly, whilst we just fall apart in the studio here, we'll just carry on.
Don't blame me just because I'm pulling faces
Neville
on the other
Ross
side of the
is
studio.
not falling apart in his pain cave at the moment. He's right on the front of this with Justin Roy and really driving this Category 3 pack. So, Sunday Race Club, if you want to join the Sunday Race Club, you need to head over to MyWhoosh.com, click on the events, click on the Sunday Race Club page. You'll find all the information there about the verification, about the rule set, etc. You'll need to do a Power Passport test. That will give you your category. And that'll give you the indication as to where you are racing. It'll give the team the information about you. You need to make sure you have dual recording, just like Mercedes does indeed. He has dual recording today, and it's all linked up and linked through, giving the verification team 2 lots of data to confirm the rider's performance.
There we go. And then once you've done that, you do 2 rides that are verified, and you get a proper result. How do you
for the final?
For the final, how do you not get a verified result? What would happen? You would basically get an ANL, wouldn't you, or a disqualification, or something would go wrong with your tech, or maybe your heart rate monitor wouldn't work.
Yes, quite rightly too. And Henry Yeast, interesting look.
It's the Seiko skin suit. As worn by Cipollini. I'm hoping that Cipollini's, it's not the one actually worn by Chippo there, and that it is his own. Chippo's shoulders were a little bit bigger, and his quads were a little bit bigger, but he couldn't climb as well as Henry.
Because I used to like watching Cipollini sprint.
I was very worried about what you were about to say.
And then I always used to like. Then I always used to like the shorts, the colour coordination, and the fact that he used to get fined for not wearing appropriate kit.
And not care.
And not care. Just take the fine because fashion is worth it. Well, the fashion at the moment is to ride off the front of this Category 3 pack, and Ben, Kirk and Conrad Fenderich are the riders doing that at the moment. Hagland is the rider chasing down with Edwards, but they are 4 seconds back.
That sprint, that run through the line there, proving that is the way to go quicker, because you can see that we've got new fastest time coming from Ben Kirk there on the way through. And remember those green skin suits that you can see are being worn here by Kirk are the ones that indicate that the rider is the fastest sprinter. Those points are allocated at each of the sprints. There's only 2 sprints today, the Ghent City sprint now between 2 and 2.3k, and then the next one is the Thistle-Hoven-Molen sprint, which if you don't speak Dutch, it's the windmill sprint, and that is from the 12.4k to the 12.7. Neither do I did Google it, I have to admit.
Well, Category 4 at the moment are not Googling anything. They're too busy concentrating because they are about to come into the Quarter Keer climb at the 6 kilometre mark. Now, the Quarter Keer, 3.9 kilometres in length, an average gradient of 2.5%. Sounds nothing, doesn't it? But when you bear in mind that there are 2 kickers on the Quarter Keer, there is also a descent within that segment. And the first part of this climb does indeed kick to 17%. Well, then you sit up and take notice, because the Quarter Keer is not to be sniffed at.
It's not. It's a really, really interesting climb. The longest, the biggest, the hardest climb, in theory, is this first climb. It's not an easy one. And you can see top right hand side, that first part of that profile, that's just part 1 of this climb. It's not includes part 2, which kicks even steeper. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes on the climb. Category 4, Mohamed Mukhtari leading them up here. Leonard coming on the side. The red chevrons that you can see indicating that the riders are digging in deep, that they're going into that red zone. We've all been there when you start to get that oxygen shut down, your legs are burning and screaming. You've got to be pushing pushing to stay with the group. Get distance now. You're not going to see the group again until you cross that finishing line. Category 4 on the quarter gear. Category 3, Nicholas Spratt on the move here. Interesting that there is this breakup, Emma. Spratt, Mare. They've got 3 seconds from Spratt to Mare, 3 seconds from Mare to Besaidi. Besaidi just off the front of the group. So is Kirchner and co. It's yo-yoing a bit, though, as the group behind come up. But would you want to let Spratt and Mare go at this stage?
And I'll tell you something, Category 3, well, it's just lit up all over the road at the moment, isn't it? So Mare and Spratt are a dangerous group to let go, you know, because those two riders could stay clear if they work together. Kirchner is there, Giraldo, Allport, Bulgarin, Oviedo, Kisnowski, Giuliano, Edwards, they are all here. Torsten Holtz is here as well. They're all at the front of the pack, and the pack is looking at each other at the moment. Those two riders gone down the road, and it's so early at 4 kilometres into this race. The climbing has not started, but there is a small phrase, out of sight, out of mind.
A phrase that I'm sure Luke Allport was using when he instigated the action for which he is now well known. So, Luke, on your screens at the moment, good to see Luke once again, one of our regulars on camera as well as on the Sunday Race Club. Do catch up with what Luke's up to on social media. And Luke, at the moment, sat in this bunch. The days that Luke Allport has not gone for a flyer have been days where he's on form and he fancies
his
chances.
Smart rider.
He is a smart rider.
He's a smart rider. He knows where his skill set lies, and he knows about executing a race. And we saw that last week where he took the win literally on the line by 0.3 of a second. But he had got dropped on a couple of times in that race, but he didn't panic. He closed it back down. He got back on, and he pretty much was, part and parcel of that. The race is not over till you cross the finish line.
No. Indeed. 100%. I'm sorry. I didn't really need to say much to that because I totally agreed with what you said.
Well, there you go. Well,
you're getting deja vu from earlier on.
Yeah, I am. Nicholas Spratt still at the front of this race, and the gap, well, it's a good gap at the moment to this chasing group, because take a look at the chasing group. There are 4 riders wide across the road, indicating that the pace is off of the chasing group. So when the group is wide across the road, I'm going to use the word blob-like. The pack is rolling at a pretty steady pace, and they're all sort of rolling around at the same pace. And you can see Cardona in your screen at the moment, also in that pack, with Ramirez, with Neville Ross, with Sanchez. A tight group across the road, not stretched out and elongated, indicating that the pace is higher at the front of the pack and starting to push. Well, we're starting to see a push at the moment on the front. One rider just come off the front of the group, starting to push on as they go towards the quarter gear. But the gap at the moment to the riders off the front, well, they are already well and truly on the climb.
This is going to be a very interesting move to try and close that gap back down again. Category 3 going in now. To go off the front early on the run into the climb is one way to take the sting out of the climb, to minimise that instant kick, that instant power that's required to respond to what everybody else is doing. You can get in on your own. A past master of that is Mr. X100, the rider that we're in with here in Category 2. We have some strong teams in Category 2, some fantastic race teams. Level NSA Racing have 3 riders here, Rushmore, Rimborg and Rodriguez. The MyWhoosh Werewolves, 5 riders on the start list, Winfield Theme, Betty Grace and Walter. Now, restart powered by Alex Go. Just one is Andrew Downey. The UAE Clan team, the band is well and truly back together again. Mr. X100, Pablo Popovic and SS. We've got the WhatsApp squad. That's Starzinski, Vojitek and Clays. And the UAE Falcons, that's Altanashi and Hamden. 22 nations in our race field, matching Category 4 in terms of the maximum number of nations. We're in with Mr. X100 of the UAE Clan team. This, I said, Emma, on the way into our rider introduction, this is the sort of course where we see Mr. X100 do that push on, go into the climb slightly earlier, putting the effort in early before he hits the climb to almost make that climb a little bit longer. Is that a tactic you think it's a great tactic to use, or do you think it's a waste of energy? You should just save it no matter what your physiology?
I think for some riders, they ride to their strengths, and you need to know what your strengths are. And if you don't have the maximum high-end power of some of the other riders, but you have a really strong time trial power, use it to your advantage. Either use it to go away from the group at an unexpected moment and ride clear, or use it as, like you've just indicated, to give yourself a run into the climb and some sliding room, because you know you've got riders behind you with higher power.
Yep, and that is quite possibly the case, that riders with that higher power are going to kick at just the right time. We're going to have to see how that goes on. Let's see who is able to move. So Gombe at the moment in the middle of the mix. One of our regular riders on the Sunday Race Club.
Well, he is indeed. Gombert, Keradine, Brune and Don all in the mix there. Rushma is there too. So is Cam Winfield. Great to see Cam Winfield back. Frederick Gombert in the picture at the moment on the bottom left-hand side of your screen when we drop in with our riders. Great to see the fan on and absolutely needed at the moment. So this pack of Category 2 riders now 1 kilometre into this race here in Belgium. 52 riders on the start sheets in Category 2, 52 being the magic number today on the Sunday Race Club, both Category 2 and Category 3. 52 riders on the start sheets. Well, Peter Millerstick is the rider on the front at the moment. Trojnowski is chasing with Winfield. Simmons paying close attention, and this is a really interesting move. Riders taking it very, very seriously and marking the front of that Category 2 pack because they don't want them to get away. Well, back at the front of the race in the Category 4 race, they have just gone through the polka dot banner signifying the top of the Quarter Kier climb, and I can tell you we had, well, what do we have? We had 37 riders going into the base of the climb together. We've got 19 in contention over the top of the Quarter Kier.
First selection made, first of those summit finish lines on that could be regarded as such as you go over the top of the Quarter Kier. Don't forget, we've got the Valkenberg, we've got the Eichenberg Hill, the Eichenberg Climb, the Quermont and the Pattenberg Climb, all on the way through. All of those categorized apart from the Eichenberg Hill, which is not on that screen. Olivier Simmons, Category 2, a rider looking very strong, a real breakaway rider. If you know, he really animates the racing. I absolutely love how attentive he is. He's always in the mix. He's always up there. He really, I like his style. I like the fact that he's always watching what's going on. He's never afraid to have a go, but he's also always marking those moves. He reminds me, I'm not going to give any spoilers, of Lawrence Feek in a cyclocross race. The cyclocross season has started well and truly. We did record an absolutely fantastic podcast on the Crosscast podcast, which is the cyclocross podcast.
Who is we?
We is Neil Mansfield, Zan Kreese, and myself. Zan had been racing in Sweden. And we were talking about the similarities at one point between esports and between MyWhoosh and cyclocross, and the passionate people, the tactics, the way, and it's one
of those up down in the racing,
the changing pace in the race, and the way you've got to use tactics, you've got to be smart, and the fact that it's such a strong and such a passionate discipline. And Simmons, for me, sums up a lot of the things that you actually get in a good cyclocross rider, like Lawrence Feek, somebody who's always attentive, always looking over his shoulder to see what's happening. What's happening behind? Well, Category 1, they are on the start line. The Alpha Jaw squad of Daniel Churich, David Talbot, Lionel Vujasin, Michael Kaminsky, and Ollie Jones up against the 4 riders of the hard-to-guard squad, Jason Osborne, Michael Knudsen, Said Safrazadi, and Stefan Van Elst. They're taking on the Wenger boys, Arnie Jacobs, Kel Power, Ricardo Panizza, Seb Devet, and Vidal Mer make up the 5 rider squads. 3 teams on the start line, 19 nations represented in our race field. We're going to see who takes to the start. It's looking like pretty much everybody at the moment who's on that start list is on the line. It's time to go racing. Qualifier race number 3, the last of our race starts. I'll go here. At the very last qualifier, we have got 45 kilometers, 492 meters of ascent. We've got the big climbs, we've got those descents, we've got the roller coaster sections, and to start off with, 5 6K of absolutely pancake flat, nothing. Oh, yes, it has happened, because we do know that these riders will push on and the pace will be hot from the start. If you're not in this group off that start line, you are in trouble, but it looks like our Category 1 riders all in there, super smooth. I expect this pace now to drop a little bit and for there not to be quite as frantic a race maybe here in Category 1 in the first 6K, which guarantees it will be nice and quick.
Well, you can guarantee it'll be nice and quick, because take a look at that back. Bang from the gun, going on the B of bang. Well, Colin Kane is right in the mix here. Massive sprint on him. Lyndon Millerstick is there as well. Talbot, Nair, Knudsen, Dvert, Osborne, all in the mix at the moment. And the push is really on at the front. It's Kaminsky on the front. Kaminsky and Pucker, Kroll and Panizza. Osborne is there as well. And I'm just having a little look at the moment, because on my start sheets, and it's going to be really interesting to see if he is in the mix, is Lennart Tugels from Belgium. UCI level rider on the road, been out and about, and very much a specialist on GC and hills.
So that's Lennart Tugels. That's
Yeah.
Teugels. We are going to see if we see him in here. Now, we saw a really quick kick off the start line there. I have a theory on this. In fact, Lennart Tugels is in here. There we are.
You
We've got him in the group. I have a theory on why we saw such an explosive quick start.
Go on then.
It's because this is the last opportunity to practice a full-on Category 1 elite level race start here on MyWhoosh before we go to the World Championship finals. And we've got a huge representation of world-class riders, including Bjorn Andreasen, the current
defending world champion.
Now, that's why I think it's gone hard from the start. Riders are wanting to get this in. Jones, Pucker, Van Elst, Andreasen, Vijassin, Mayer, Power, Noren, De Veer, Osborne, Kaminsky, Knudsen, Nair, and Turek, all on the start list today, all of which are racing in the World Champs. And you can see we've got riders kicking it from the gun. Kaminsky there, get that race start, get that now, because that is, I think, going to be really typical of this first 2 stages, if not all 3 stages of the World Championships.
Well, I have to say, I do think Belgium, well, it is a course to practice on for the World Champs, because they're short, they're sharp, they're kicking, and they pretty much reminiscent of what we are going to see on Saturday in the World Championship. We're not going to see a 45-kilometre race, but we are going to see short, sharp climbs that really do make a difference in those latter stages. After the first sprint, while Andreasen right on the front in the mix at the moment, Vujassin, Millerstick, Paradians, Talbot, Dvert and Kroll. And it is indeed Mikhail Kaminsky setting the fastest time through the Ghent City Sprint, 21 seconds, 0.934, followed by Osborne. Ben Kirk in Category 3, showing that you don't have to be a Category 1 rider to have the power in there in 3rd place. Then it's the rest of the Category 1 pack for Yassin, Pucker, Knudsen, Kroll, Kane, Power and Dont.
So Dont, the rider who is first on the start line in Category 1 in the top 10 places in terms of pace going through the segment. So that snapshot on the race giving us an indication that Category 1 are on it from the start. Not always very typical of Category 1, maybe showing that they are trying to get those legs sharpened up before we go into the start of the World Champs. Now, in Category 2, we've just got underneath the polka dot banner. We're on to the climb. We're on to the quarter gear. This is climb number 1 for Category 2. We're in with SS at the moment now. SS, a rider who has progressed up through. He's got the fastest sprint time in Category 2. He's got that green sprint jersey. May well be that SS today is going to focus on that, maybe, rather than the overall. But he's a fearsome rider. We've seen him progressing from Category 4 to 3 to 2. Category 2 for me is the old Category 1.
Oh, there's a contentious statement.
Well, if you go back into the dim and distant history, the riders that we have seen in Category 1 of old are the riders who are pretty much making up Category 2 now to a degree, with some of them moving to Category 1 as is now, where we've got this level. I think Category 1 has almost leveled up. It's gone up another gear. It's got the, we have got the world-class riders. You only need to look through the the start list of the World Championships and see just how many of them are on the start list in Category 1. It is the top of the tree. A really interesting interview in the Virtual Velo podcast that Emma did about esports and with the UCI. Have a listen to it and talking about what it needs to make esports become that top professional level. And I think for me, Category 1, this is your pro level. You know, you've got to be absolutely at the top of your game and be an absolutely class rider and put in the training and be dedicated to get here and ride regularly on esports.
I don't disagree.
Hey, twice in one day. Let's make the most.
Well, at the moment, Category 1 are making the most of this because this pace is hot today. Absolutely hot in Category 1 at the moment. And Tolbert, Tugels, Vujasin, Khan Ken, Lyndon Millerstick, the young rider who's just come up into this category. And I tell you something, that is not a shy young rider at all. Very, very happy to mix it with this class of rider. Mikel Plantero is here. And that's a rider who will have this in his sights today. Van Elst, Bjarhed, Osborne all in the mix, and they are absolutely motoring. It's Bjorn Andresen off the front at the moment, the Danish defending world champion, showing what he's got in Belgium and leading the charge at the moment. Well, the charge is at 5 kilometers into this 45-kilometer course. This is the Category 2 race. And look at the size of this pack coming towards the top of the Cortekia. On the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you've got Walter Clays, one of the riders in the pack, and you can see the effort absolutely going in and to push in this pack, but the pack is spread down the road.
It is indeed 7.6k in. This is the top of part 1 of the climb. Clay sits back down again. I love the Belgian jersey.
Can you see how
it's
appropriate?
The Belgian national jersey. It's so appropriate for this course. Walter Clays in the mix, right in the big bunch going over. Now, this is where the climb sort of descends and it levels and it descends again, and then it goes into part 2 of the climb. The summit of the Cortekia comes at 9.9k. So part 1 is done. We almost climb as high as we get to on part 2, but this descent in the middle, this soul destroying descent down here, that really you give away that height that you've gained. It does allow riders to come back on if they are close enough and they can put the effort. But if you were dropped on part 1, you're almost certain to be dropped on part 2.
Well, Van He, part and parcel of this leading group, and you can see the Category 2 pack pretty much split now into 2 main groups on the road. This is the leading group that Van He is part of, with Graves, Bendetti, Harvey, Buster, Downey, Rushmere, all part and parcel of this group.
Matthias Van He, if I remember correctly, this is his course. This is a course where he's absolutely on fire. And this is a course where he is going to be in there. Of course, where normally I would say Mohamed Al-Kais would be with the lead group. He's not there at the minute. This is not like Mohamed Al-Kais to be dropped on a aggressive race route like this, which is short, sharp and punchy.
Well, he is trying to use those punchy riding skills to get back onto the group, and he really is trying to dial it. But they are about to go on to the second part of this climb, and Al-Kais kicks at 9 watts per kilo to get back onto the group, but the kick is not long. He goes again. He kicks, he rests, he kicks, he rests. He's desperately trying to get back on before the gradient goes skywards, but that is about to happen. That is the second part of the Cortekia. You can see as Al-Kais comes back onto the group. Can he make connection? Well, that's a big question, because they are about to start riding away again. It's 11%, 12%. They are kicking towards the top of the Cortekia. Bendetti, Rushmere, they are 5 seconds clear of Mohamed Al-Kais. I'm not sure he's going to see the back of that group again.
Well, this is where you come on to the climb. You've got that steep first section. It then starts to level. It kicks again at the top. You can see the damage is done. Emma's assessment, I think they're correct. Case gone. Rushmere has gone here. If you're at the back here like a Vodicek, you could be in trouble. I got to say a massive thank you to Jakub Vodicek, one of the big brains behind MyWhooshinfo.com, which is a fantastic resource to find out all about the riders. So if you want a bit more detail detail on the riders. If you want to get the stats, dive on there. Now, one man who should need no introduction. This is an absolutely man on fire. Mikkel Plantero has been racing strongly at the very top of the game, taking wins in elite level cycling esports races.
He does indeed, and he really is a man on form at the moment. So Plantero in the mix here. The French rider racing on the Belgium course, part and parcel of the mix at the moment with Pucker, Andreasen and Noren all around him at the moment. They are coming towards the top of the first part of the Courtier here. This is the bit where you've got to stay in contention. You've got to use those last squeezes of power on the pedals, because it's Vujasin and Kaminsky who are dialing it on the front here. I tell you who is back in the mix today as well, and that is Said Safrazadi, a rider never to be discounted.
Really interesting. Said Safrazadi and Stefan Van Elst, teammates on that hard-to-guard squad. The Alpha Jaw duo of Vujasin and Kaminsky down it up on the front as well. Osborne is in the hard-to-guard squad. He's right in there as well. It may not be a team competition today, but the riders are racing tactically. And that was one of the things I found really interesting, is that there's more and more tactics being employed in the more team tactics all the way through the racing, not just in the finals, in category one.
I tell you something, if you could see the front of this race at the moment and they were wearing national jerseys, it would look a little bit like the front pack of the World Gravel Racing men's race, because you'd have Belgium jerseys scattered all through it. Van Elst, Paradians, Tugels in there, all from Belgium, and racing on this Belgium course today.
Indeed, I think it's going to be very interesting to see who makes this selection. Now, we're just going to dive in. We've got Vujasin and Kaminsky, both for the Alpha Jaw squad. You've got Safrazadi and Van Elst, both for the hard-to-guard squad. Looking very smooth there. Great session done by Lionel Vujasin on the training session, a live training session. You can jump on with riders. You can jump on with Emma on the live training sessions. I mean, you've got a session on Monday.
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Well, if you're in the UK, that's tomorrow.
Okay, so you can jump on the live training session. Lionel Justin did one. Loads of people really loved that. Basically, go on to, if you open up your MyWhoosh on your computer, on your laptop, on your phone, make sure that you get dialed on that. Really, really key, because there's some great sessions. Click on that. Jump on board. Emma, tomorrow it's about lunchtime UK time,
it is,
isn't it?
12:30 lunchtime UK. You can jump on board with me, and that is open to everyone. But you will, if you follow the MyWhoosh Indoor Cycling Facebook page, if you follow MyWhoosh on any social media platform, you'll get notification of when those rides are each week and which coach is leading what session. I do know some of the riders out there on MyWhoosh doubling up on days of live coaching sessions and doing double days by joining those sessions. Well, Panizza, Jones, Kaminsky, Turek, Tugels, Andreasen, Pucker, Noren and Kaminsky all in this leading group as they hit the second part of the Courtier. At my call, that's about 15 riders who have made the selection, but Plantero hasn't. And Noren is now in trouble on the back.
This is dangerous ground. You cannot be too far to the back of this group. You can see Pucker not quite in the mix here. Panizza's right on the heels. Noren at 15 seconds. Pucker at 2 seconds. And I would suggest at this stage, as the group go over the top, when you get to the top of this climb, it's a tight left-hand turn. You go through the banner, and it's not long before it starts going downhill. The pace picks up, and any gap will amplify as we go around the turn. This is where knowing how to ride here on MyWhoosh is absolutely key. Through the Courtier climb we come. It continues to climb at the moment, but it's soon going to start. You can see that gradient dropping top right-hand side of your screen. Now it's going to go into descent. It's going to go into those minus numbers. And this group on the front are going to pick up. I think Pucker has made it. I don't think Noren has. But watch this space, because Pucker is struggling at the moment on the back of the group to get back in. Times over the top, though, incredibly close.
They are indeed, and Kaminsky setting the fastest time on the quarter gear today, 6 minutes 10 seconds. Vujasin, Osborne, Kroll, Paradian, Safrazadi, Van Elst, Jones, Turek, and Tugels all in the top 10. And in that Category 1 race, 7 riders went through as a pack, a small gap, and then back to 5, a tiny gap, then back to Pucker. So the question is, can they all squeeze on, and will it shortly be a group of 13 leading that Category 1 race?
We'll come back to the Category 1 shortly, but at the moment, Category 2 is well and truly alight as well. 13.5k covered, which means that we are in the descent phase at the moment. This is just a little bit of a run down at the moment before we move over and across towards the main climb. Now, what is going to be really, really key here is, can our 2 breakaway riders stay clear? 2 riders from the UAE clan team, Mr. X100 and SS. Interesting to see that he's on the Alu bike there. The in-game benefits there. He's done the challenge. He's got the tokens. He's ridden the kilometers, and he's got the bike there. Really nailing this along with SS. 2 class riders. I've been on the receiving end, albeit a long time ago, of having it handed out by these 2 riders on a ride. And I tell you something, they made life difficult. Interestingly, Pablo Popovic is just sitting on the front of the group doing not a lot, just trying to disrupt it just that little bit.
Well, 8 seconds back to the chasing group in the Category 2 race, but there's a long way to go yet. They're coming up for the 15-kilometre marker. Still 30 kilometres of racing in Belgium for Category 2.
The 2 leaders are really putting in a big effort here. They are trying to make the most of this gap. The group behind, they're still having a chat. That is not a chasing group. We're not going to call it a chasing group. We are going to call it the group behind, because that is not a chase.
Well, it might not be a chase. That's because Popovic is right on the front. The teammate from SS and X100 from the UAE clan team, not wanting any pace on the front. And his job there is to shut it down to ensure the chase doesn't happen.
And he can sit on there all he wants and nobody can say a thing because his teammate's down the road, which means he's saving energy, ready to go.
Guess who's down the road in Category 1? Osborne, Jones and Kaminsky.
Well, there's a surprise. No slight bit of sarcasm in our voices. No, not at all. 3 of our well-known, aggressive, attacking, breakaway type riders on the move on the front. Ollie Jones, I mean, trademark. Jones takes wins by doing long efforts. Osborne at the moment is pretty much unstoppable. He seems to be on incredible form. And you've got Mikhail Kaminsky, one of those hot favourites also when we come into things like the World Championships, which is in, 6 days' time, is it not?
It is indeed.
No, 5 days.
Wow.
5 or 6 days, depending on where in the world you are,
what
you're
time
watching
it
this,
is,
etc.,
and
etc.
whether you're counting to the second. Well, Tugels, Kroll, Van Elst, Vujasin, Andreasen, Paradis, and Safrazadi are all in the chase group, but there's not a huge chase coming at the moment. In fact, Safrazadi is the rider starting to push on there. Well, they're pushing on, and the pack's now through the Tissenhoven Mobile Sprint. Fastest time, 22.221 seconds from Scott Francis from the Level Avengers in Cat 4. And interestingly, we've got riders from all 4 categories in the top 10 through that, which tells me some were sprinting, but some were rolling through, and some packs were moving very, very fast. SS, Simmons, second and third. Kirk setting the fastest time in Category 3. Then we go back to X100, who's riding with SS in Category 2. Then Jason Osborne, Jones and Kaminsky, the riders pushing on in Category 1. And really interesting to see riders rounding out that sprint.
And because that is the last of the 2 sprints, that means the final points have been allocated to all of the leaders in those sprint competitions. So the riders who are wearing the green skin suits, that is Jason Osborne, that is going to be Scott Francis, that's going to be SS. Anyone in that green skin suit, they've got them now because there are no more sprint points allocated out. We're not going to see that, but it does mean it makes it interesting if you are watching, for example, Jason Osborne, who at the moment is leading top left-hand side of your screen. He's got a green skin suit, not a yellow jersey on.
Well, he has indeed. And can I just say that the packs are attacking like crazy in Category 1 and Category 2, and we've got riders clear. But look at the size of the leading groups in Category 3 and Category 4. You know, Category 3 at 23 kilometres, that's a huge group of riders. Coming up to 25 kilometres into this race, the Category 4 riders, well, they are on the Eichenberg Hill before the Eichenberg climb. And that has got to be over 15 riders still in that leading group.
It's an interesting race dynamic between our first two categories on the road, categories 4 and 3, and then our second two race league categories, 2 and 1, where we've got that slightly different mix of riders. Now, in category 4, that group on the Eichenberg Hill. In category 2, the riders are coming in towards the Valkenberg climb. Now, this running is really interesting because you've got a little dip to pick up some pace. At the moment, SS has got a little bit of a gap to Mr. X100, and that is surely not going to be the game plan here today. They've got to keep pushing here behind. It's 14 seconds, and look at that. Olivier Simmons is the rider taking up the chase behind. Thank you very much, Olivier, for proving me right. On the way through, he's the rider who is looking to close that gap down. But then behind him, you've got a big gap. You're 10 seconds back behind him to the main bunch. So one rider's looking to come across to make up ground as they go into the Valkenberg climb. The Valkenberg climb, it runs from 18.3 to 19.6k, 1.3 kilometers long. Most of the hills on the running now are really short. The longest one, I think it's just over 2k. The shortest one, it's only a few hundred meters.
Oh, it is indeed, but a few hundred meters really makes a difference in Belgium, because I can guarantee you it will be steep. And the Papenburg climb, the last climb of the day, is only 400 meters long, but it's 11.7% average gradient.
And it comes really soon after the second biggest climb of the day, which is the Quermont as you go in. So the Quermont and then the Papenburg come quickly. You come off the summit of the Quermont at 38.8. You descend down and it's very quickly into the Papenburg climb at 42.9. So really, really quickly from one to the other. Now we're on to the climb. Mr. X100 starting to accelerate away here from SS. Both riders climbing hard. They know that they've got Olivier Simmons in pursuit, and the group behind the bunch has potentially started to change from a bunch into a chasing group, because they know the danger of letting 3 riders up the road. Once you start to get a good group in front, you can take turns, you can take rest. And it may well be that that is why we're starting to see the move by Simmons has actually triggered the chase and group behind. Here they come. This is the pack that are chasing.
Oh, look at the size of it.
Yeah.
Simon Walter right in the mix there as well, with Winfield, Clays, Gombe, Don, Carradine, Agudelo, Heaney. My goodness, Simon Walter has some class company around him, and they can see the riders up the road ahead of them. They have targets to chase, and well, they are definitely chasing them. And the gap, look at the gap coming down. That X100 has gone off the front of the leading 3 and has established a bigger gap for himself. But SS and Simmons are about to come back into the fold, and the rate this group are moving, I'm not sure X100 is going to stay out there, you know.
Well, it's very, very difficult, isn't it? All 3 of the escapees were in sight at that point when we took that look from the bunch forwards. You can see Mr. X100 is going to come underneath the polka dot banner at the top of the Valkenberg. At the top of the Valkenberg, we go across the lake. We go on that causeway. It's dropped down. It's almost a submerged road. On the way in through, you can just see him making his way in now with the water to either side of him. He's going to have to keep on pushing. The 2 chasers behind have really got no distance, a couple of seconds between them and the bunch. I suspect that will be all over. That's game over. Mr. X100 alone in category 2. Left-hand side of your screen is category 1.
It is indeed, and 4 riders are clear in category 1. Jason Osborne, Ollie Jones, Mikhail Kaminsky and Said Safra Zaidi, the 4 riders clear. 25 seconds back to the chasing group, and they are about to go into the Valkenberg climb.
So Category 1 about to start the climb that we just saw. Category 2 come over and complete. Remember, these are the lead groups that we're talking about. There are riders distance from the leading groups in all 4 of our race categories. Such is the ferocity of racing here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier race number 3. Next week will be the finals. Don't forget, if you want to know where we're going in the finals, you need to tune into Inside the Ride podcast with Matt Smithson and Saya Bradley. They are going to be bringing you the details, I'm sure, on the show. You can get there. Really easy way to do it. Subscribe to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Get notified when there are new videos. So not just the Sunday Race Club, not just the World Championship finals and all the races involved in that, but also some of the great informative videos about how to ride, how to connect your second power measurement device, how to change your avatar, but also, of course, the Inside the Ride podcast, and some great content, unique content in there as well, from things like the World Championship. So do make sure you subscribe, have a listen, tick those boxes. Whilst you're, make sure you give MyWhoosh a follow on social media as well to keep up to date with everything. It is at MyWhoosh on Facebook and on Instagram. It is at @my_whoosh on X. And don't forget, of course, you can keep up with all of our riders. There's so many of them on social media now. One man who is in action, it is Jeff Rooney, and he's working hard. He's in climbing territory at the moment, 28.3K covered at the moment. He's heading towards the summit of the Eichenberg climb. He is in the leading group, but there are riders in front. At the moment, Lenador is the man who has the gap, 4 seconds. But as you can see, that's a matter of a few meters in front of this group. Abello, Rooney, Zimael, Barchansky, Cridland, Chrysonomous in there. Winfield is in there. Cirillo in that mix as well. Big, big group. This has not been a final selection coming over the top of this climb. The end of the 2 Eichenberg hill and climb. They are climbs 3 and 4. They are segmenting climb number 3. We will have 2 more climbs left, the Quermont and the Paterberg, but we've got a long run in between. That big group, I think, is destined to stay together on the front of Category 4. Can Category 3 break it up any better? Not sure. You've got some class riders in both groups. Cridland at the moment out of the saddle, tapping out a nice rhythm as they come up here. He knows that he has got to get to the top of the climb, 29.0K, 300 meters. It's indicated by that polka dot banner.
Well, Lenador, Cridland, Abello, Rooney, Zimmel, Winfield, all in the mix. It's still a big, big group at the 28.8 kilometre marker, but Lenador is about to go over the top. That's the polka dot banner signifying the top of the Eichenberg climb. They've got a long transition now, just shy, well, around 7.5 kilometers of transition before they hit the Quermont. Time to compose yourself. Think about your strategy. Where are you going to go? Because at the moment, this is a group of 12 riders at the front of the Category 2 race.
And it's a very quick transition from the climb into the descent. This is a short distance, steep descent. It means the speed picks up quick. You see top right hand side of that right hand screen, over 13.5, nearly 14% now. Go over 14, hit 16, hit 17.5. That means that the speed picks up. You can see everybody tucking down, building the pace, over 85 kilometers an hour on that descent. That opens up the gap. It's a big group, one chaser behind. Really is in no man's land there. Left-hand side of your screen, it's the other side of the hill. Following over on to that climb. This is the lead in group in Category 3, but it's still a big group. There are more and more riders distance though behind there, Emma.
There are indeed, and you can see that on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. 3 clear, distinct groups in Category 3. This is the leading one, and Besedi, Mayer, Yeast, Maillard, Giuliano, Orrego, Oviedo, Ramirez, all in this group. It's a strong group, you know. Never discount Ryan Giuliano.
No, I wouldn't. And Thierry Bersedi, when we saw him earlier on in the show, was looking very cool, calm, had the time to wave, say hi. And that's usually a sign that somebody's feeling really prepared and confident in here. Henry East was the same East with that polka dot skin suit on. Remember, points on the way through for the Kortekier, for the Valkenburg, for the Eichenberg climb, but not the hill, for the Quermont and the Paterberg climb. These are the 5-point scoring opportunities to take away a polka dot skin suit.
Well, the challenge here now is there's a smaller group and there's a little gap between these two groups now forming in the front pack of category 3. The back are going to have to squeeze on because the second the front go over here, it does drop into a descent and their pace will pick up. They need to close that gap down. It's 5 seconds at the moment between these two groups now, and this is a good push coming on the front from Mayer and Bersedi and Giuliano. Van Velgem is in here too, and that's a nice bit of push, a nice bit of pace, because they are going to want to drop the group behind. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens at the moment. 9 riders in the leading group, 5 riders in the chase group in category 3.
So category 4 and category 3 over the Eichenberg climb, the second of the pair of hills where we see the approach at the moment onto climb number 1 of that pair. It's the Eichenberg hill. Now, this is not categorized in this race. It is almost identical to the Eichenberg climb in terms of distance and height. It has a slightly smoother summit, which means it's a little bit easier to make your way in and over. At the moment, the chasing group of riders are on the left-hand side of your screen. On the right-hand side of your screen is the solo leader. Mr. X100, who went over the Valkenburg climb solo, has stayed away. He has not only stayed away, he has managed to extend that gap. Now, it's 8 seconds. It looks a lot less. This is a classic foreshortening of the camera. But we've got to remember, we're on a climb. We're doing 25 kilometers an hour. On the descents, we've seen speeds of 85 kilometers an hour plus. And that means that any gap, physical distance between, for the same time, is brought down. It means that the riders behind can see you. They know where they're aiming for. And at the moment, Josiah Betty's kicking. We're seeing well over 6 watts per kilo coming from people like Betty and Harvey, chasing our leader at the moment, Mr. X100, who's on the front.
Pack. Look at that pack, and Betty on your screen now leading that pack and closing that down. They are about to bring this all back together again. But look at the strength and depth of this category 2 race field. They are wide across the road, and Betty may be leading the charge at the moment, up and out the saddle on the screen at the moment. He may be on the wheel of X100, but the pack behind is huge.
And it's not very big in terms of distance from the front to the back. Big group, huge group, little distance from front to back. Look at the volume of riders coming. They are all over the same piece of road. It would be a fantastic result if they all come into the finish. Great for these riders. It shows you just how close the racing is, but that's what nobody wants. They certainly don't want to bring this group to the finish. Mr. X100 has been instrumental in breaking this up. His teammate SS has gone with him. His teammate in Pablo Popovic has not gone. And these team tactics playing out in Category 2 as well as in Category 1, who are on the left-hand side of our screen, because away at the front, Jason Osborne, Ollie Jones, Said Safrizadeh, and Mikhail Kaminsky.
Well, that is correct. The 4 riders leading the Category 1 race. I can tell you, whilst they are coming into the Eichenberg Hill, on the Valkenburg, the chase group were faster.
Yep. Love it when the chase group's quick. Let's see if they're going to be quick now. You can just see Hernandez and Tweaker trying to stay with the leading group. Rimbaud, the nearest of those Category 2 riders, trying to stay with them, but there is no way to stay with the base of Osborne at 7.5 watts per kilo, or Kaminsky, or Jones, or Safrizadeh. We're seeing peaks of over 8 now as they continue to push. This is a super short effort. This is a World Championship final length climb. Remember, this is 1.5K long. This is perfect training for those final kicks. Are we seeing preparation for the Worlds for people like Osborne and Jones and Kaminsky? They are in the final. Interestingly, of our 4 breakaway riders, Saeed Safrazedi is not in that World Championship final. He can give it everything today with no regard for what happens next Saturday.
Well, he can indeed, and he's a man who really mixes racing on the Sunday Race Club with racing out on the road as well, and he is a phenomenal performer out on the road.
A great mountain biker as well, a rider who we see regularly racing in lots of different disciplines, all those covered by the UCI. Do make sure that you are subscribed to tune into those World Championship finals on Saturday, and immediately after, with probably very little sleep in between, we will be back on Sunday as well for the finals of the Sunday Race Club with all 4 of our race categories in action. It's going to be a great weekend of racing. Make sure that you get yourself ready, get all your snacks and supplies all ready.
Oh, yeah.
Get the big screen lined up. Make sure you're ready to see these riders in action. Jason Osborne, the man who has not been off a World Championship podium since the inception of cycling esports, is on the attack. He's on the front. Are you seeing the man who is going to take his title back at the weekend in action, or are you seeing somebody doing too much too soon?
Well, only time will tell. Safrazedi, Jones and Kaminsky are behind. Now, Daniel Turek is not that far behind. It's 14 seconds back to Turek. He's continuing to chase. He's had a really good climb and about 7 seconds down on him. Well, Paradians and Tugels are there, and Andreasen and Kroll. So you know what? These time gaps are not huge at the moment in Category 1. In fact, on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, that gives you a really clear shot. The Category 1 yellow jerseys are all over the road at the moment. And the question is now, in this last 20 kilometres of racing, can they start to work together? Look at Turek grabbing for a gel there. The level of work and effort going in. Phenomenal racing at the moment from Daniel Turek. He will indeed be in that World Championship final, chasing Kaminsky, chasing Safrazedi, chasing Jones and Osborne. 8 seconds now is the gap, and I tell you something, that man is absolutely drilling this at the moment.
This is his final challenge. You've got to remember that Turek wasn't originally in those finals. He's one of the wildcard selections for them.
What a wildcard.
A great wildcard, and he's showing just why he deserves that place at the moment. He's on the chase. He's trying to bring that down. He's got it to 7 seconds at the moment to Kaminsky and to Jones. And Turek, he hasn't had that same run-in. He hasn't had that secure knowledge from the semi-finals. He was going to be at those finals. He applied for that World Championship wildcard place, I'll say it if it kills me, to get in there, and he got it. But at the moment, Osborne is putting them all to the sword. 20 seconds is the gap from Osborne to Safrazedi and Jones.
I know.
That is huge.
I know. It's absolutely amazing at the moment. The ferocity of this race, and the racing just so good.
So Osborne on the front of the race in Category 1. The man at the front of the race overall, it is Lenador. He's solo. He has got a similar gap, 22 seconds to Rooney, to Bogran, to Cirillo, Abello, Wachetsky, Karawanis is in there. I think that's Alan Lucia in the group as well. A big chasing pack. They are coming after him in Category 4. Will they get him back? He's leading at the moment. Now, Category 2, we saw Mr. X100 clear at the front. He's been reabsorbed into this group. He's right in the mix here at the moment. As we go up the climb, Josiah Betty opening up the throttle here. Just wanted to go clear. Mr. X100 very quickly on the chase here, and he will continue to push over the top. He's closed down that gap. He didn't want to let Betty go, and you can see the effort now. This is danger time, because if you put in a big effort at the very top here and you haven't got anything left, you can drift to the back. There are a number of riders who really need to squeeze on in because of the speed of the descent coming down off this climb. This is the fast descent that takes you from the Eichenberg climb into that flat, long run-in to the Quermont.
Yeah, indeed. And it was indeed Simon Walter pushing on from the MyWhoosh Werewolves just to get into the back of the group. I'm going to say that again. 20 riders still in this leading group in Category 1 at the moment. And I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown as to who they are. So X100, Betty, Simmons, Bendetti, Van Hees, Starzinski, Ospina, Winfield Theme, Heaney, Gombert, Carradine, McCarroll, Nico, Buster, SS, Walter, Agudelo, Millerstick, Downey and Darn.
I wouldn't want to choose any one of those riders, but I'll almost guarantee you something. There won't be that many riders when we get to the top of the Quermont climb. That is when we're going to see the penultimate selection made. The final selection could well be made on the Patenberg climb. Right-hand side of your screen, Category 2 leaders at 30.3k. Left-hand side of your screen, a soloing, sprint jersey wearing Jason Osborne on the move. He's nearly got 30 seconds. He's nearly half a minute clear of the chasers behind. He wouldn't need to do much more if he was out on the road. They start putting the cars in behind him.
Can I tell you something? I think Osborne and McCarthy are reading the same rule book at the moment. This is how you race the Sunday Race Club by McCarthy and Osborne.
I wouldn't disagree. And I think very interesting with regard to their performances. Everybody wants to be the next world champion, whether they're the defending champion Bjorn Andreasen, who is chasing, or whether the riders in front. Everybody would love to do that. Only a select few can do it, and there is very few ways that you can actually make that happen, and they all involve hard work. Saeed Safrizadi chasing like crazy at the moment. He's got a lot of work to do, though.
Well, he has indeed, but can I just say, Daniel Turek is now ahead of Kaminsky and Jones. So we saw Turek take the gel, we saw him take the fuel on board, we saw him working at making the catch, and not only has Turek made the catch, he's now at the front of the chase group. Kaminsky, Safrizadi, Jones are all in that mix. Paradians has also made the juncture. Bjorn Andreasen with Vu Yassin Tugels are leading the charge. So 3 riders then in the chase behind. Then it's 14 seconds back to the group being led by Kroll. So at the top of the Eichenberg climb, the fastest time being set by, take a look at that, Lionel Vu Yassin goes quicker by 8 seconds than Jason Osborne. Jason Osborne, the lone leader, out at the front of this Category 1 race, but the chasers are closing down. So Osborne, 8 seconds slower than Vu Yassin. What I was going to say was Osborne moving at the same pace as Paradine's Turek in the closing groups. So it's really, really interesting to see how this is playing out at the moment. And it's playing out very, very differently. So Osborne at the moment out front on this race, but not setting the fastest times on the climb, because Lionel Vu Yassin in the chasing group, boy, he put the power down on the Eichenberg climb.
He really rocketed his way up there to push himself up and try and get back in contention. All 4 sets of riders away on your screens. You've got Category 1 is Jason Osborne at the top of the screen. So Category 4, Category 3, Category 2 and Category 1 on the move. Osborne leading in Category 1, Leonard Orr leading in Category 4. All of these riders fighting, and the leaders in Category 4 and 3 are on the penultimate climb. They're on the Quermont climb, a really key moment for them to stamp their mark and potentially start to get a good look at what they are going to be taking away. Now, course profile. Here we go. You can see as we go on to the Quermont climb. This is a long climb, relatively 2.2k. It doesn't have the descent that the Cortakia has. And that means actually the climbing distance is very similar to the Cortakia climb. We then drop off the side and go into the Patenberg climb. And that, Emma, that is where we see the race-winning moves if somebody's going to solo to the finish.
Yes.
But not if it's a small group necessarily.
Exactly. So we have indeed seen attacks on the Patenberg, that 400-metre climb at just shy of 12%, making all the difference to that rider who uses the opportunity there to break away from the finish. And we have seen the winning moves go on the Patenberg. You are also right, Matt. We have seen groups of riders come up the Patenberg because it's so short together and then come in for a mass sprint for the finish. And we often see different types of tactics and different types of race finales all take place on the Patenberg.
So we're going to see who is going to be flying up the Pattenberg, who will be up there and into the finish. Will it be solo riders? Will it be groups of riders? Well, Category 3 at the moment, they're currently still a reasonable size group on the front of the pack. Still looking about 12, 15 riders in Category 3 altogether. Giuliano Bassedi, Van Veligoma, Arrego, East, Allport, Edwards, Oviedo, Mayer, all in the group. It is stretching as they start to catch riders in Category 4. Just seen a little bit of a push here by Thierry Bassedi, who was looking pretty cool, calm and confident at the start of the race. Maybe not going to look quite so cool, calm and confident as he goes over the top. Confident maybe, cool and calm, not so sure. We're going to take a watch at both of our Category 3 and 4, as well as Categories 2 and 1 as we come into the finish. Remember, this is a 45-kilometre race, but the end of this race is absolutely frantic. Over the top of the Quermont climb goes JD Abello. They are the chase group. They're chasing Lenador, who is 30 seconds down the road, a solo leader. Big pack chasing. That's in Category 4. They're over the top. Category 3 are not far behind. Category 2 are still on this transition. Let's take a guess. Who's on the front trying to break this group up? Any guesses anywhere, anyone?
Well, there's a good question. Would it be a certain UAE clan rider, Mr. X100?
And very interestingly, Ian McCarroll starting to go with him, the rider from the United States of America, really has raced this race smart. He's been in contention. He has been around the front of the race. He's maybe been tracking Olivia Simmons well, because they're very close together again. But they've been riding really strongly. And now we get to the end of the race. McCarroll is starting to play his cards.
He is indeed, but the other rider also coming to the fore yet again is Betty. Really interesting to see him take this race by the scruff of the neck. But I tell you who has been quiet, and that is Bendetti. He's been quiet. Van He has been quiet, and they are all still in that pack behind, you know. So McCarroll, Simmons, and X100, the three riders on the front, but Van He is in here as well, and this is his type of course too.
And we've got two very different climbs. We've got the Quermont climb, 2.2K. We've then got, following that, the Pattenberg climb. Now, I would suggest that any sprinter worth their salt can go over that Pattenberg climb with a climber.
Yes.
Because whilst it is steep, you can smash the power down and go over with a climber, because your power will exceed the penalty of being that bigger rider versus a climber. But the Quermont, you can't do that. You've got to stay in here. So we're going to be really interested to see how the riders use the terrain in front of them. One rider who it doesn't seem to matter whether it is a 17% ascent, a flat road, or a descent. Jason Osborne continues to push here. Now, the one thing I would say here, Osborne is on his own. He's gone off the front. He's opened the gap.
But look who's behind him.
Yeah.
Turek.
Turek is behind. Osborne is no longer racing. He's time trialing. And I would argue that this is not racing everybody else. He's racing the clock. He's racing himself. All he needs to do now is get the pacing correct. And that is all down to him. Behind him, Turek is racing Jones. He's racing Kaminsky and he's racing Paradians. And in racing them, he's gone clear. He's opened up the gap and he said to them, I am on the move. I am putting the effort down. You've got to get to me.
Well, Jones, Kaminsky are indeed trying to do that. And Paradians is there as well. Vujasin, 29 seconds back with Andreasen. You know, this is a really, really interesting race. So we have Osborne out in front, Turek chasing, but this chase group of 4 riders in Category 1, Safrazadi, Kaminsky, Paradians and Jones, can indeed see Turek in front.
And Kaminsky and Jones are teammates of Daniel Turek on the Avajor squad.
Yes.
You know, you've got 3 out of the 5 riders of that squad in the mix here. And just in terms of squad tactics and team tactics, by Turek going down the road, they don't need to chase, which puts the pressure, therefore, on the rest of the riders.
Well, it does indeed. Let's see what they do.
It'll be interesting to see now. Mistakes 100, who was on the move, trying to break this up. He has been pulled back here. Simmons, Walter, Speeder, Nico. Looks like Agadella. Mitlostic has gone a little bit further back. Just taking a little look. Walter, Speeder, Nico, Mitlostic. These riders at 20 seconds are class riders. I think there's Winfield in there as well. Cam Winfield in that sort of 20-second down group. So is Van He. This leading group of riders at the front here, this has been sprung clear by the move by Mr. X100, by the response from McCarroll, who is in here. You've got Betty's been able to answer this. This is danger time. Everybody behind could be giving away a top 5 position here.
Well, I'll tell you something, with Simmons and Betty in this group, I think they could be. 20 seconds at the moment. They do have a technical finish now, because we've got the Quermont, we've got the drop from it, we've got the Pattenberg, and then we've got the climb to the finish. So 20 seconds, it could be enough, but the pace has got to stay on at the front of this race.
It has 4 riders to go, Claire. I mean, what a group of breakaway riders. Simmons and Mr. X100, Betty in there. This is, McCarroll's in here. This is the sort of group you want to be in. You certainly don't want to be left chasing them. Not at 37.3k. They're well on the way up here. 38.8 is the summit of the Quermont. On the entry to the Quermont already,
I know, he's
Jason
really
Osborne.
motoring. So Jason Osborne really motoring now from Category 1, and his bike is just eating the miles. It's eating them. It really, really is. And now just 600 metres behind the lead in Category 2.
So Osborne and in Category 1, Betty and Co. in Category 2 on the penultimate climb. Then between there and the Pattenberg is Category 3 in the bottom left-hand side of your screen in the blue. Category 4 race leader is clear of the bunch. They are coming behind him, and they are out of the tunnel as well. This is the summit of the Pattenberg. It's about to be put to bed by Lenador, but behind the gap is 18 seconds to Abello, to Zimiel, Horsley, Buchansky, Rooney, Cridland. They are chasing right-hand side. JD Abello here with that polka dot jersey of the fastest climber. He should pull that back on again as they go back underneath the banner at the moment. The bigger points with Lenador because he's already gone through. Abello's going to come back through. He should be pulling that jersey back. There we go. So he has that polka dot skin suit. The rider he wants is just in front, taking that left-hand turn. 14 seconds. We're at 43.3k. We finish at 45. This is going to be a pursuit on the way into the finish. Matt Monroe, Lenador at the moment. 13 seconds. He's got a hold on. Meanwhile, Thierry Bersadi, we said he looked cool, calm and collected. He's coming towards the upper reaches of the Pattenberg, and he is handing it out. There are riders in his wake. They can't stay with him at the moment. Can he break clear?
Well, I'll tell you something. Lenador might be leading the Category 4 race, but he set the 9th fastest time in that category up the Pattenberg. The chasers, well, chasing hard. The gap 13 seconds back to Abello, Zimiel, and then a gap back to the chase group. Can Mac Monroe Lenador stay clear? He's got 1 kilometre to go. Another climb in front of him before he gets to the finish line, as Abello tells everyone he's tired and needs somebody else to pick up the charge. But Abello and Zimiel are the 2 riders chasing the leader on the right-hand side of your screen. The gap around 150 metres.
So here we go. This is Matt Monroe, Lenador on the front, on the right-hand side of your screen. JD Abello and Gasses Zimiel are behind. They're about 15 seconds down. They've got 8 seconds to Buchansky, Horsley, Cridland. It's going to be a sprint for those final top 5 positions, 4th and 5th. And below, still wide open. The top 3 positions, well, it's going to come down to these 3 riders. 15 seconds should have been enough. He's opened it up even further. He's now gone out a little bit more by my reckoning. It's Lenador on the right-hand side of your screen, leading this out. The chase is coming behind. Who will take second? Who will take 3rd place?
Well, Mac Monroe Lenador is the rider on the right-hand side of your screen. He's got 500 metres, 400 metres now to go on this Sunday Race Club here in Belgium. He's leading the Category 4 race. He's been leading it for some time. Abello and Zimiel, the two riders giving chase on the left-hand side of your screen, but I think they are going to run out of road as Mac Monroe Lenador comes through. He sees the gates to the city.
He sees the gates of the city, but behind him, look at this, Cridland, he's on his way up. He could well catch Simiel and Abello napping here. Cridland, he's absolutely motoring. He's at 8 watts per kilo nearly now, and now the two are starting to respond. The gap will be eaten up. It won't be quick enough, though, because Mac Monroe Lenador can well celebrate here. He flew like a lightning bolt to the finish. It's going to be a great win. Mac Monroe Lenador takes the win in Category 4.
Well, he does indeed, and the chase is on behind, and Cridland may well get this from Zimiel and Abello. Jonathan Cridland is going to come through for second place today in that Category 4 race as we start to watch and turn our attention to the Category 3 pack coming in, and Nicholas Arrego has opened up at 9 watts per kilo. Besedi is going as well. Oviedo and Kirchner, Giuliano are all there, but Nicholas Arrego is going to come round the left-hand corner at the moment. He's going to see the banner first, but is he going to get there? I'm not sure, because Besedi has kicked. Besedi goes up. He goes over the top. Has Thierry Besedi timed this right? Can Oviedo do anything? Thierry Besedi is going to come through, I think, for the win in Category 3. The riders behind battling this out, but it is indeed going to be Thierry Besedi who comes through for the win in Category 3. Arrego, Karlstrom, Oviedo, Kirchner and Yeast, the riders behind.
An amazing sprint. What a battle. Thierry Besedi there with a kick at just the right time. Are we going to be treated to a Category 2 sprint that matches Category 3? I'll tell you something, I'm glad you were calling that, Emma, because I didn't know who was going to come through to take that finish. This could be an interesting run for the line. We're on the descent now from our penultimate climb from the Quermont. We're dropping down towards the Patenberg. And this group, they are all just relaxing, trying to get a little bit of recovery in that chasing group behind at the moment.
Well, you are indeed, and Betty is the rider continuing to push on here in Category 2. I tell you, Yozel Betty has really impressed me today. X100 pushing on and just closing the gap down into the group. They are going to come now from this run in and transition into the Patenberg. Well, the chase behind, 13 seconds back to Vanhy, but we saw in that Category 3 finish how close you can run it to the line.
Do you think this is almost a missed opportunity? If they'd have chased hard behind on the way down to the race into this final climb, if the group behind chased hard enough, would they have made more ground up? Because 13 seconds is not a lot. We've seen riders blow on this climb before and then not have anything left at the top. If the chasing pack get this right, 13 seconds could disappear.
13 seconds can disappear very, very quickly here, and not necessarily just on the Patenberg. That second climb on the run into the finish, if you've given it your all on the Patenberg and you don't have the legs that you think you might on that run into the finish, it only takes a rider kicking at the right time on that pre-finish climb to close the gap. So we are going to be treated to an absolute cracking finish, I think, in this Category 2 race. On the left-hand side of your screen, Jason Osborne, I tell you something, he is not far behind them. And the gap back to Daniel Turek now 38 seconds. I think, though, Turek may have company.
Ooh. And that is going to make things very, very difficult for Turek because he has been on the attack, expending energy. Now, right-hand side of your screen, leading group in Category 2. Left-hand side of your screen, chasing group. You can see from your screens, there is less than 100 meters between these two sets of riders. The leaders are about to hit the base of the Patenberg. We turn sharp right once we go underneath the banner. We're onto the climb proper. We come out from the tunnels and we go into the daylight. We climb over through the banner. Then you've got that really tricky run to the finish. It flattens, kicks again, and then flattens as we go in through the gates of the city underneath the portcullis and over onto that finishing arch. Who's going to get there first in Category 2? Will they get there before Jason Osborne motors his way up through past them? They're on to the climb. The kicks come in the leading group.
Well, they do indeed. And McCarroll, Simmons, Betty, and X100. Olivier Simmons comes to the front at 8 watts per kilo. Josel Betty, 9 watts per kilo as well. McCarroll is third wheel at the moment. These riders heading up the pattern back 16% at the moment. It might be short, but it is so sharp. It's the sting in the tail to the Belgium course on the Sunday Race Club. And the gaps are now starting to form. So Betty, X100, Simmons, the 3 riders now going clear. Ian McCarroll just getting distanced on this climb. You've really got to save something for the end of this race here in Belgium, because it is a course that just keeps giving. Take a look behind though, Matt, on the bottom left-hand corner of that Category 2 race. The pack are coming behind.
The pack are coming behind. We have seen Betty go over the top. Mistakes 100. I saw 9 watts per kilo come from him. He will have turned himself inside out to do that. Betty's up there as well, and this is just going to be a finale.
I can tell you the chasing group are absolutely moting. So Theme, Nikito, Buster Heaney, Van He Bendetti, Walter Camfield, Ospina, all going quicker up the climb than X100 and Betty.
Ouch, 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 ouch. This is going to hurt. Remember, we've got the long run around. We come around this right-hand turn. We've got the climbing section to come. Simmons is not out of this. It may be 5 seconds up the road, but it's not going to be necessarily a race-defining move by Betty. X100 is chasing down here as well. McCarroll is not out of this, but he has got them breathing down his neck behind. Nico and Co are about to see him, and I think the bunch are going to catch him. Will they catch the rest of the riders? Betty and Mr. X100 are frantically trying to stay clear, and the bunch is round the corner.
You can see the bunch coming in the background as Betty starts to kick. X100 is absolutely dialing it here, desperately trying, but hanging on because his legs, well, they must absolutely be screaming at the moment as Betty rides clear of the group at the moment. X100 trying to stay. Agudelo kicking at 6 watts per kilo, coming fast behind. McCarroll is trying to stay on for a top 5 as well. So Ian McCarroll had tried to stay with the group, but he has been dropped from the lead. Betty is the rider at the front of the pack at the moment. X100 comes up onto the side of his wheel. He goes up and over the top. They have got 600 meters to go. This is the climb before the finish in X100. Josel Betty, the 2 riders neck and neck. The power going down. Betty able to hold it longer. X100 continues to go. Theme is coming though, 5 seconds back. So is McCarroll. The numbers behind, well, they are littering the screen, and here they come. The pack is rolling. Nikito is the rider pushing on. Agudelo Perez is there as well. So is Van He. Can Betty hold this? Betty is dialing it on the front, but Nikito is coming. Winfield is coming. Can Betty hold it? That's the banner. That's the UCI banner. Can Josel Betty hold the chasing pack? They are coming at pace, but Josel Betty is going to take the win today on the Sunday Race Club in Belgium. It's going to be Van He, I think, for second against Winfield. So Van He, Winfield, as the pack pile over the line.
What a race finish. That was the race finish of qualifier number 3. Pardon. Oh my goodness, what a race. Coming up, it's Jason Osborne on the left-hand side of his screen, and Sad Carradine goes through in Category 2. I'm not sure he expended most energy on that finish. Emma's on the other side of the studio as Jason Osborne makes his way into the line. He has been a tour de force here today. This is going to be his.
It is indeed. So Jason Osborne coming across the line in qualifier number 3 for October, Category 1. Osborne takes the win on the Sunday Race Club. Daniel Turek is the rider in second place at the moment, coming towards the gates of the city. He has broken away from Paradians after making the catch to the remnants of the leading group. Daniel Turek today is going to come across the line in second place in Category 1 on the Sunday Race Club today. Jasper Paradians behind, looking like he may take third.
Be really interesting to see. I hope he holds on. The pain must be excruciating as Daniel Churek comes to the line. You can see he shut off those throttles as he goes over the line. He's expended absolutely everything there today as riders in all our categories. SS in Category 2 comes over the line. Ola Warren in Category 3 goes over the line. You got Category 4 riders coming through as Jasper Paradines makes his way into the finish. He shut down as well he might. This has proved an absolutely monumental race today. Kaminsky is ahead of Safra Zaidi. He's going to come through for a top 5 finish here. What a race. What a battle. Say Safra Zaidi's going to come through inside that top 5. That has been brutal Belgium at its best.
Well, it has been indeed. And Ollie Jones now coming in towards the finish line here on Sunday Race Club. Lionel Vujasin is the Category 1 rider behind. Stefan van Elst is behind him, scattered like marbles down the course.
What a race. What a finish. Your race winner today, Jason Osborne, coming in 45 seconds clear of Daniel Churek. If that is not a come and take it off me, I am here, I am back, and I am on form from Jason Osborne. I don't know what is Churek showing just why he is a force to be reckoned with, followed by Paradines, Kaminsky and Safra Zaidi rounding out the top 5. Jones, followed by Vujasin coming in. Lionel Vujasin 2 minutes plus down as they came in and over the line. Category 2, Emma, a fantastic race there, possibly the race of the day.
Well, yes, but I am going to say, I think that could be the fastest time set in Belgium by the men, because that is about 20 seconds faster than what I think is the previous fastest time. So Jason Osborne with 1 hour.
20 seconds?
I think it is the fastest time, but I will confirm at a later date. Well, so but let's just run through the other categories, shall we? Because Category 2, you are quite right, was a phenomenal finish, and Josel Betty taking the win from Van Hee, from Winfield, from Nikito, from Heaney. Absolutely amazing. Category 3, your winner was Besaidi from Arago, Karlstrom, Kirchner and Oviedo. And in Category 4, it was all about Lenador from Cridland, Zimael, Abello and Horsley.
Great racing. All those results are live. Don't forget you can catch up with the final results. So when they are verified and at the moment as they are live on the MyWhoosh website. It's mywhoosh.com. Go onto that menu and get those results.
I am just going to caveat today by saying thank you very much to Jason Osborne for taking the win today, because at some point over the next week, and I am not sure when, because my co-host of the Virtual Velo podcast has not yet told me when he is going to release it, the next episode of the Virtual Velo podcast is with Jason Osborne.
Oh, okay. Excellent. And that's already in the can, is it?
It is indeed.
Oh, can't wait for that. So don't forget, there are lots of great podcasts out there. Inside the Ride will be coming out with the race routes, I'm sure, as well as lots of other championship-related things in the coming week. The Virtual Velo podcast is going out. Great to see that. And don't forget, I think there's a live blog from the World Championships on there as well. Both myself and Emma are going to be trying to add to that to just bring you some more colour and a little bit more depth of detail. You can follow us on social media. It's at Matt Fix a Pain for myself, and it is at biking_Emma for Emma. No surprises there. Amazing racing here today. A massive thank you to the team behind the scenes who've brought us to this point in our qualifiers. Next Sunday is the race finals for the month of October on the Sunday Race Club. We want you to hit that subscribe button. Do it right now if you haven't done already, and make sure that you are lined up ready for those finals. Before that, though, we're going to be continuing our homework to make sure that we are up to date. The team that brings you the Sunday Race Club are bringing you the UCI UAI 2024 Cycling Esports World Championships from Abu Dhabi in the UAE, powered by MyWhoosh. We would love to have you along to watch what happens at the in-person final. If you can make it there to the venue, do let us know that you watch the Sunday Race Club. If you see us, if you catch us, try and wave at us. If we are talking into a microphone, we probably won't be able to actually physically say hi. However, we really do appreciate it when we're there. We're going to do our homework, not just on our riders, but on our language skills as well. So, Aibka Amna, Harak, Kariban, Wadayan Alan, which is stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.